It's good. You can see the chat, me testing it. It'll go away. Can you see it? We're good?
Yeah, we're good.
Sick. Okay. Say whatever you want to say. We'll get ready to switch it.
All right. Well, thanks for coming, everybody. This is our first podcast. We're super excited. Um, Today we're going to be talking mostly about the mysterious death of Elisa Lamb. We're also going to get a little bit into the Cecil Hotel and all of the strange happenings there. Um, yeah, so let's just go ahead and get into it.
Sick.
So,
Hold on, let me switch over real quick. We'll do it,
okay.
the actual one here. Make sure that this is working. That's good. Okay. Yeah.
All right. So, I guess we should start with a little bit of background. So, we'll start with the Cecil Hotel in general. It's located in downtown Los Angeles, California, which is really not far. It's on Main Street, so it's really not far from the infamous Skid Row area, which, if you know anything about Skid Row, it's really not a great place to
Yeah,
be.
I've actually seen it. I've been there.
Have you really?
Yeah, it is. It's the most like unsettling atmosphere you'll ever feel.
Really?
Yeah, because it's just rows of tents and it's got like one
Yeah,
of the
that's
most
what
like
I
the
read
biggest
about that.
crime areas.
Yeah, and
Yeah.
it's I think it said at one point, I don't know if it still is, but at one point it was named like the most homeless area in all of North America, which is crazy to think.
Well, did you know that California like intentionally set it up that way to like kind of
Really?
contain, yeah, their homeless problem? That was like the initiative.
That's
Because
crazy. Well,
because all of like the homeless like shelters and help centers are in that area too.
I feel like a lot of people do that. Like a lot of states in general. I know that Louisville does that as well. I didn't know that whenever I first was there, but after a while, I learned more about it, and they do the same thing. They try to contain it to only certain parts of the city, and you can tell as soon as you kind of come upon those parts of the city, you can tell right away that those are the more homeless population lives there.
I guess it's just not as noticeable, not as many people, or can you
Yeah,
actually
I don't
notice?
know. I don't. It's a lot of, like you said, like the tents. You kind of start to see the tents, and really, it sounds crazy, but it's a feeling. You're kind of like, I don't know if I should be. I don't know if I should be here. Um, yeah,
Not, yeah,
that kind of vibe.
that's definitely what the vibe Skid Row gives.
Yeah, and then if I don't know if you ever saw the musical Little Shop of Horrors, but it's set like the setting is Skid Row on Skid Row.
Oh,
It's a lot
I
of
never knew that.
yeah. There one of the songs in the musical is literally titled Skid Row, and it basically just talks about how it's a terrible place to be. Like you don't want to be there. It's a terrible place to get a job. You like don't want to live there. It's just really an all around bad area.
That's insane. Oh my God.
Yeah, so the fact that the Cecil Hotel was not far from Skid Row is probably a reason why it's so cheap to stay there. And I think that a lot of, especially out of towners who are coming to stay for a short period of time, will
Mic
stay at
on.
this place because it is so cheap.
Yeah,
Which, a cheap hotel, you kind of get what you're paying for, I feel like.
you're not
um,
wrong. I mean, we're gonna get into it with the story, but like even the tourists were like,
oh,
we kind of expected these bad, things.
right, definitely. I feel like if you got into it more, you could kind of see that hotels, I mean, look at like Motel 6 and Super 8, places around here.
Oh
Like
yeah.
you don't want to stay there. Most of the general population don't want to stay there.
No, but I mean, like it's kind of It's kind of misleading because when you see motels, you kind of know what you're getting in for, but like the Cecil Hotel was still titled a hotel.
Right.
So you think it's
Right.
gonna be like more like fancy and,
Definitely.
which
Definitely.
the
And I mean,
interior is for
right.
the
I
most
mean,
part.
honestly, the outside, it really doesn't look, to me at least, from the pictures I've seen, it really doesn't look all that terrible.
No,
But I guess,
especially because it's had work done recently, I think.
right, yeah, and I actually have a few things to say about that, but we'll kind of we'll get into it. Okay. So, the hotel itself was founded in 1924, but its doors didn't open until 1927. So the hotel itself has been through a lot. It's very old. Um, and through the years, it's kind of developed a reputation for itself. If you've seen American Horror Story, I don't know if you're an American Horror Story fan.
No, I
Um,
haven't seen it.
yeah, but if you have seen it, you probably know about the season titled American Horror Story Hotel. So this was something that I just recently found out about. Like I haven't seen the season or anything. I just found out about it, but the season was created in reference to the Cecil Hotel. And it even mentioned a character named Richard Ramirez, who we will get into a little bit later. Um, but Richard Ramirez is the infamous serial killer, the Night Stalker, who has also been rumored to have stayed in the hotel during the time of his murders. And also, in this season, it talks about, odd behaviors, a character with odd behaviors, paranormal events, different things, suicides, other murders happening in this hotel. Um, they actually called it Hotel Cortez, but it is in reference to the Cecil Hotel.
They tried to change it a little bit then.
Yeah, but I mean, obviously, I feel like anybody who watches it and knows the story of the Cecil is pretty much like, okay, we know exactly what you're doing here.
Do you think it was kind of in like for legal reasons as well, where you'd have to change the name?
I don't know, honestly, because I know that a lot of people will do that. But I don't know. I feel like you can't really know if
Yeah,
that's for sure what they did.
well, I mean, I knew like just in general, like the hotel after selling it and stuff, like they kind of wanted to get away from that. And if that was
Hmm.
recent, I mean, they would have to.
But what's weird about it is that the hotel has kind of wanted to get away from that, but at the same time, I feel like that's where it's gotten all of its publicity from,
I know, right?
is all of these
It
scary
was
stories.
kind of curious to me why they like the new ownership, like because they were taking down like the old like banner. And I was like,
Right,
why would you? I mean, that's the whole reason people come and stay there, is like for the mystery of it.
exactly. Um, yeah, and like you said, the hotel was actually shut down in 2017 to undergo renovation. And in 2021, the renovations were finished. And it was said to be that it's no longer a hotel, but it's now affordable housing.
Oh,
But
yeah.
weirdly enough, even though it says that it's open for affordable housing, there's no way to book a room there.
Is it really?
Yeah,
Is this recent or?
I would assume so. I mean, I don't know. Should I
Oh,
look up how to book a room at the Cecil Hotel?
well, I mean, maybe it's not booking, maybe it's just like actually like renting like housing, like an apartment.
Right,
So maybe that's why you can't like book a room because it's more like a lease now. Is that what they were trying to do
maybe.
with it? They're like actually like trying to get into an apartment.
I don't know. I don't know.
That
But I
would
guess
that would
that's
just make more
still,
sense. Wait, is the stay
yeah.
on Main? Can you book the stay on Main? Because I
I
I
think
don't know
that
if you
that's what
knew
it is
that.
now. Yes, yes. I think that isn't that what it's turned into? Like it's no longer the Cecil Hotel, it's the Stay on Main.
Well, when they had the stay on Main, they had the Cecil as well. it was supposed to be
Hmm.
two separate entities, and that was like the whole issue because they still shared the same elevator. Um, but I don't think that they put it combined it into one. I thought there was still the Cecil and then the Stay on Main.
I don't know. I don't know if they're the same thing.
That's interesting. I don't know if they changed it all into one or if they continued separate because that happened even before Elisa Lamb because Elisa Lamb checked into Stay on Main, which we should probably tell her story.
Yeah, yeah. Well, we're getting off track already. We
Yep.
haven't even gotten to the main story.
It's good, it's
Okay,
good.
so do you want to start, or would you like me to start telling the story?
Oh boy. I mean, we can switch, I think, or you can jump in if you want. I can start. Um, but oh gosh, where do I even start? I mean, I guess you would
I guess
have to
we'll
start
start
with
with,
her blogs, right?
yeah, yeah.
Um,
You can start there.
'Cause do you know how old she was? I forgot.
21.
Was she 21?
Yep.
So she was pretty much like, I guess any 21-year-old. She blogged about traveling and I believe she was still like staying with her parents or near her parents.
Hmm.
And she
Well,
wanted
she
to
had
get
just
away.
graduated college, I think.
Oh, so she was probably still near her parents at
Yeah.
least. 'Cause I
There's,
knew
yeah,
that's what
probably
she wrote
fresh out of
about.
the household. Yeah, yeah.
Yeah. So I knew that she like that was her whole reason for traveling is that she wanted to prove that she could be on her own and stuff and like that's totally, you know, kid uh individuals or kids our age would do all the time.
Definitely. Yeah,
And
yeah.
where else to go but, you know, the shining
Mm.
state of California.
Los Angeles, California,
Well,
baby.
she went all up and down. It was like, didn't she refer to it as something like the West Coast, like, uh,
Yeah, I think she was trying to go on like a North American tour or something like that because she's from Canada.
yeah. Well, she
Yeah.
was in what was it, San Francisco before LA?
Yes. Or
So, and she continued
San,
to
Di-
go
San
further.
Diego, maybe.
Oh, okay, probably.
Yeah.
I knew that she was somewhere before and that she was planning on going somewhere afterwards.
Yeah. It said she had just come by the train from San Diego and was headed to Santa Cruz as part of her solo trip around the West Coast. The trip
Ah,
was supposed to be a getaway from her studies at the University of British Columbia in Vancouver, which is where she's originally from. Her parents live there as well.
yeah. Um, and so what people assumed at this point was that you know, as she was planning, she was looking for affordable housing because obviously, if you're just out of college or you're a college student, you don't have much money probably.
Right.
And so she found the Stay on Main, which is a whole separate instance of the Cecil trying to rebrand themselves um,
Mm-hmm.
because of their restrictions of them having to keep, you know, the low income housing as well. So they rebranded
Right.
and they split the hotel, and I think it was like the first the first and second floors were part of the Cecil, I think, and then like the third through fifth or something was stay on Main, and then the whole rest was like low income housing above that.
That's
And
interesting.
yeah, so they tried to split it up. Well, the whole issue was that you know, with the drug issues and the crime issues of like that comes with low income housing, like they were still sharing the same elevators. Like there was no way to erase that they were on different floors, but like, you know, you didn't know who you would get on the elevator with. Um, but I know Elisa Lamb she checked into this down Main because it was supposed to be like this new trendy and hip place to stay. Um, and so that's
And I'm
where
sure, I mean, she's a 21-year-old girl. She's traveling to this new place, like LA of all places is somewhere cool and hip, like you said. And I'm sure she wants to stay in in a type of place where she thinks she's going to experience the real LA vibe. I mean, I would too.
yeah, of course. I mean, and especially one that was advertised to travelers and to younger people. I mean,
Hmm.
it seems like it would be the perfect place to meet people because it's also something that she spoke of in her writing was, being open to meeting strangers and stuff and having adventures.
Yeah, and I think it's also important to mention in her blogs, she talked a lot about kind of like seizing the day, like not um wasting your life and going going out and experiencing new things and kind of taking on the world by yourself. And I think that's a big reason why she did this solo trip is because she really wanted to live her life to the fullest. I mean, I know it sounds cheesy, but we're thinking that right now, like as young as we are, we're thinking, oh, you know, I want to go on adventures. I want to do this. I want to do that. I want to live my life to the fullest. So I don't think it's odd that she went on this solo trip if she was so passionate about wanting to experience things like this.
I don't think that there was anything odd or strange about it. And
Mm-hmm.
I think that she was just really unlucky to find herself in a place that encourages bad habits and, a lot of bad experience, I would probably say happened there. Like just
Yeah,
from staying
a lot
there,
of unfortunate events. Yeah,
Yeah, and what you see people like there and stuff. So I think it was just an instance of wrong place, wrong time. I think that maybe, if she stayed anywhere else, that it might have ended up differently. I know I have different views actually
My
happened
God.
than you, so
yeah.
so
uh,
for me it might not have changed, but for your side it may have caused a difference, if she just stayed anywhere else.
I let's just we'll keep going. We'll talk about our opinions here in a short bit because I know we both have pretty strong ones.
Um,
Um,
where did
but yeah,
so what where do we go after that? I mean, I guess the elevator video.
well, I would say first because she was so young and traveling by herself, she did tell her parents, that she was going to keep in touch with them fairly regularly, as
Oh yeah.
in every single day. She was talking to her parents, keeping them updated um, on her life in LA and just telling them that she's okay, she's doing great. And as well as that, she's also updating her blog. Um, and I believe she also had a Tumblr page, and she was also updating that as well.
I think our Tumblr
Um,
was her blog.
oh,
Yeah, I think that's where she was
well,
posting most of her stuff at.
yeah, I don't have a lot of I don't have a lot of background on Tumblr,
I
so
don't either. I don't think I've ever
I
touched it.
wasn't like the cool girls who had Tumblr.
Is it still cool? I
Oh
don't think
God,
anybody uses it.
I'm sure some people would say it would,
What is
but
it
whatever.
even? Or it's just a type of social
I feel
media?
like it's like the only thing I know about Tumblr was when I was a kid, I would look up like Tumblr wallpaper to put on my phone. I
No,
think it's
it's
kind of like a
Pinterest.
Pinterest.
That's
Yeah,
Pinterest now, where you look up wallpaper.
yeah.
I don't know, maybe it replaced Tumblr. I don't.
Who knows? I
I
don't
wish
even
I
know.
knew.
Oh yeah, same.
It's like MySpace. It's been forgotten by this generation.
Uh, Gone but never forgotten. Okay, gone but never forgotten.
Yikes. I don't know about that. I think it was worth forgetting.
Suit yourself. There's some gems on MySpace, I think.
Oh, there's some interesting there's a story that we might talk about that I have to tell you about that I recently watched on how they used MySpace to catch a killer. So that was
Oh, well,
yep.
there you go.
That could be an interesting thing to talk about too, but we should probably continue.
Okay, so back to Elisa. So I think where we should go next is that she originally was supposed to be staying in a hostel type room, which would basically mean that she had roommates in this room with her. But soon after she started staying there, her roommates started complaining of Elisa's odd behavior, which is a very, I think, a very key moment in this story. Um, So they complained that she was acting very strange and out of the ordinary, I would call it. And so Elisa then was moved to a room by herself. So if you want to go ahead and go more in depth on what that odd behavior was.
See, yeah, this supports my side of
Yeah, it. Go
this
ahead.
doesn't really fit yours, but so
That's all right. I'm open
according
minded. I'm open minded.
according to hotel staff, they were getting, and it was a female at the time, the manager. She was getting reports of Elisa like standing in front of people's doors and not letting them in, and then she would also like to the room she was staying in not let her roommates in without a password. And so they were saying that she was acting very, erratically, and that kind of behavior is out of the normal line of, what you would do staying at a hotel. Um
But here's here's my question. Okay,
yeah.
this this was, you said, reported by hotel staff, right?
Oh, okay. Well, it was also reported by her roommates,
Was
obviously.
it okay? That's what I was gonna ask. Were the roommates ever interviewed?
Well,
Did
I'm
they ever sit down in front of the police and say, "This is what happened"?
I don't think they did. I think that they were the ones who
See, that's
reported to
where it gets
staff.
fishy.
And staff probably spoke to management, is what I would assume. Because that's what you would do at a hotel if you saw something weird. You'd be like, I gotta go
But yes,
find a staff member.
thinking, if I'm a cop, if I'm a police officer, an investigator on this case, and the first clue that something was off, I would go directly to the people who said that something was off, aka her roommates, and I would say, "Tell me what this, tell me what this bizarre behavior was," and that never happened.
Well, here's another thing, right? Though, if you're thinking about an investigation, she wasn't in their room surrounding like the time that she disappeared. So why would they think to look at their
Because
roommate?
she was there at some point. Like
She
if
was, but she was
I'm sorry,
moved.
but if a person goes missing, I would be retracing her steps from the moment that she got to LA.
No, you're right. I mean, that would be the line of thing to do, for sure.
Yeah. And I know that to people listening, I am making absolutely no sense right now as to why I'm fighting this, but I'll get into
Do you want to
at
continue
the
with the
end.
story then, if you're so?
Yes, yes. Okay, sorry. So she was moved room by herself. Okay?
Hmm.
And so, like I said before, she was in touch with her family every single day. And so it really caught her family off guard when Elisa all of a sudden stopped communicating with them. And so she checked into the hotel on January 26th. And on January 31st was the first day that her parents did not hear from her. And it was also the day that she was scheduled to check out of the hotel.
Yeah.
So obviously, the Lambs, her parents, were concerned and they eventually contacted the LAPD. And this is where the investigation kind of starts, where she officially becomes a missing person.
Hmm.
And
It's pretty soon after the disappearance too, which is always, a good start.
right,
Because, the first 24 hours are crucial in any case.
yeah, especially with a young girl.
Yeah.
Um, so yeah, this is where she officially becomes a missing person. So police searched the premises. They searched the Cecil Hotel. In my opinion, they didn't do all that they could do.
No,
Um,
I think I agree with you on that point, actually.
yeah, because it said that they searched her room, they searched the whole hotel, they searched the roof, they brought in dogs. After several days, they brought in dogs, which, I mean, if this is a missing person, I would say you needed to bring in dogs immediately.
Right? That would be a little
Um,
odd.
right? And there's, oh my God, I could go on and on and on about the police department failing to do their job in these sort of cases,
Well,
especially in
the
older cases.
the dogs are, it's considered a junk forensic science anyway, and
Mm-hmm.
like they're only supposed to lead you to, items or the body, but like because it's a junk science, like it's not always exactly perfect. So even if you
Right.
bring dogs in, like there's no guarantee they would find anything, but they actually did find stuff, which is
Mm-hmm.
the suspicious part, because obviously, I don't, can I go into it on what they actually
No.
did find? Well, they
Yeah, go ahead.
they on her floor, I think it was what floor was she staying on? The fourth?
Yes, I believe she was staying on the fourth floor,
And I know that the last known video she was on, they think that she was on the 14th, which is the top floor. Um,
which is never okay. Never mind. Sorry. You go ahead, and then I'll go after you.
and anyway, so the dogs actually found, they found traces. I don't know what kind of traces on the window on that floor, and it was actually the window that led up to the fire escape. So,
Right.
they went up to the roof and they checked that, and but there were places that they admitted that they did not take the dogs to. And I mean, I don't know if we want to go ahead and
Why?
say where they
Why?
found her. I guess it doesn't really matter because we're just arguing the
Uh,
point.
I say hold off for
Okay, hold off.
just
Okay,
just a little while. Yeah.
so yeah, I won't, I'll hold off because, she's got stuff she wants to add, but they I will say that they admitted to later not checking certain parts of the roof, which would have been probably crucial, which was odd. So you can go
Yeah.
ahead and continue. I just wanted to point it out that the
Yeah.
dogs did find something.
Right. Okay. So I would say the point where things start to take a very bizarre turn is when the footage is released of basically the last time that Elisa is seen alive.
Hmm.
And this is an elevator surveillance footage video that the police actually um, sent out to the public. They released it to the public,
Well, they
and I
released
don't
it
know.
to the
Can we?
press, and the press was the one who published it on YouTube.
Oh, okay,
Yeah.
okay.
Hmm.
So can we? Is there a way for us to show this video?
We would have to find the video and do a display, but I think
No,
that it might be
that's okay.
copyrighted as well. So
Oh, that's okay. Just kidding.
I'm sure
Well,
people have
if
seen the
you,
video. You can
yeah,
describe it though.
if you haven't seen the video, you can literally look up Elisa Lamb elevator video, and it'll take you right to it. So in this video, um, I'm watching it right now. The elevator opens and Elisa walks in. She bends down, and you know what? I'm just gonna keep describing it. Elisa bends down and starts pressing elevator buttons. And not just one, to where, like, if you were in the elevator and you wanted to go to the third floor, you'd press three and then you'd be done. She presses at least five, maybe more buttons on the elevator. And you can see them. You can see them light up. It is a little bit foggy, so you can't tell exactly which ones she pushed, but it does look like they're all in a vertical row. So she presses all those buttons and then she just stands in the back corner. And what's odd about this video is that the elevator door is not shutting. Like, it is just open. And I actually did a little bit of research into this, and it didn't do a lot for me. But it says that typically an elevator door will stay open anywhere from 3 to 20 seconds. So I know that's not a lot to go by. Um,
Well, they timed it. There was people who actually went and like timed how long it stays open. Like, what do you mean when you push the button or just in general?
well, like like you go in the elevator, you push the button, you're ready to go, and then you wait. Like, how long after you push the button does it take for the elevator to close?
Oh yeah. Yeah, that's usually shorter.
Right.
Mm.
So she is standing in the back corner of this elevator, waiting, what I assume is waiting for the elevator door to shut, when all of a sudden she takes a step forward, has one foot out of the elevator, like leaping out, and she is looking frantically both ways. And then she just jumps right back in the elevator and stands completely still. And now she's almost hiding. Not, I mean, she is like in the corner, the front corner of the elevator, to where if you walked by the elevator, it would look like no one was in there. So it seems like she's hiding from someone or something.
Mm-hmm.
And now she's again peering out the elevator door, looking for something or someone. Um, and she's just eerily, I mean, it's strange how she's just like hopping out and peering around the corners, jumping back into the elevator, going in and out, in and out. The whole time, it's like she's looking for someone or something to be following her, to be running after her. Sorry, this is a almost 4 minute long video, so I'm trying to do the best I can here. She's basically just standing out there. At one point, she kind of has her hands on her head in confusion, basically, and she jumps back in the elevator and again presses all of these buttons. Maybe thinking that it didn't take the first time. Maybe she'll press them again and hope for something else. But it just makes no sense what she's doing. And I think that's what a lot of people kind of took from this, especially internet sleuths, talking about what she could have possibly have been doing. And at one point, she's kind of got her arms out and her hands out, feeling the air as if she's touching something in the air.
Yeah,
She's just
some
doing
said
that.
that it looked like she was like, actively communicating, like how you wave your hands when you talk. That was some people's
Mm-hmm.
impression.
And it looked like she was almost doing symbols with her hands or like maybe counting on her fingers. And then out of nowhere, she turns the corner and she's gone.
Which an
And let
interesting
me
thing to
see.
add was that that corner that she walks around leads
Mm-hmm.
to two entrances to the roof.
And I want to see
There's two
here.
over there.
Okay, so from minute 2:06 to 2:58, the elevator door is wide open and there is nothing obstructing it. So that's over 50 seconds of it just being wide open
Hmm.
for no reason. And then, the elevator shuts and she turns the corner and the elevator goes on its route. Um, so yeah, that was the end of that video. But something else I want to point out that I think this is a part that really supports my theory is that it came out later on that almost a minute of this elevator footage was edited out before it was turned over to the police,
Well,
which
the
I find
police
very
said that
bizarre.
it wasn't like that when they got it. They said that it was normal when they handed it over to um the what would you call them? I guess
The press.
yeah, the press. That's the word. Yes, thank you. They said that they got a normal video and like that was the whole like hotel being like we're not involved sort of thing because that wasn't us, which a lot of people thought it was.
Like the hotel said that they didn't edit out the video.
Yeah.
So is it saying that the police did?
Well, the police then came around and said that um that it was normal when they got it. And so they don't like because this was after the internet, as Luce pointed it out. And so this is when when the police came out afterwards and they were like, "Yeah, we don't know why it's like that because it was normal for us." Or, so they say.
So they say, yeah.
To support your
So they
theory, so
say.
they say.
So they say. Okay. Um, so on February 19th, 2 weeks after the video was published, um, 2 weeks after she initially went missing, or I guess was considered a missing person,
Mhm.
a maintenance worker named Santiago Lopez started to get, well, I guess he didn't get, but a lot of the people staying in the hotel started to complain of bad water pressure, weird tasting water. A lot of people said that they would turn their faucets on and the water would just run black for a few seconds. Like, how disgusting.
Yeah.
I I cannot imagine if I was in a hotel and my water was black, I would be out of there so fast. So, because of these complaints, a maintenance man, Mr. Lopez, went up onto the roof and was going to check out the water tanks. Maybe they thought maybe that there was an animal that had somehow burrowed its way into the pipes, something similar to that. And so Mr. Lopez, the maintenance worker, unfortunately stumbled upon the body of Elisa Lamb, who was floating face up in the water tank, naked, with her clothes surrounding her about a foot down from the surface of the water tank. Um, so at this point now, Elisa is no longer a missing person because they have found her remains.
Yeah.
Do you have any? Do you have anything to say?
Um, so I like all of my like points would be basically refuting some of yours. So I
Right.
think now that we know what happened to her, especially because I have to go grab something real quick, I think that you should go ahead and explain your side now that we know kind of the full story.
Okay.
And go ahead and say what you think happened to her. The stream might hear a noise because I'm going to turn the mic off for a second while I go grab something. But you can
Okay.
go ahead and explain.
Okay.
Mic
So
feedback off. Mic off.
here, here's my theory. Elisa was found on the roof in these water tanks, and now I know that you all can't see the pictures that I'm looking at, but I'm sure if you, like I said, if you look up Elisa Lamb case, all of these pictures will pop up. So these tanks are not small. Like, these are big tanks, okay? Um, probably, I would say at least 10 feet tall, maybe about 6 feet in diameter. Um, and I'm assuming they're metal tanks. Um, so for a girl Elisa's size, she was 5.5 feet tall, 120 pounds. She's not a big girl, okay? This it's almost impossible for her to be able to get into one of these tanks, remove the lid on it by herself. Okay? And also the way that she had to get into this tank, it had to be via a ladder. Okay? The angles on this were just not not right. I don't know how else to describe it other than saying there's no way that she could have done this by herself. And, after the coroner's report, they officially deemed this an accidental drowning, that she had killed herself. Okay? And I just don't believe that because there was, like I said, she was found a foot. The water didn't start until a foot below the top of the water tank. So
Mic off.
she had a
Mic
whole
off.
12 inches of air for her to be above the water. And I mean, again, I haven't been in a water tank. I don't know if these are airtight to where even above the water you still can't breathe. The other weird thing was that her clothes were off. All of her clothes were off. She was naked. And a lot of internet sleuths think that she tried to take all of her clothes off because it's like dead weight. Once they get wet, they get heavy, they cling to your body. So she took all of her clothes off to try to get out. Well, what is she trying to get out of? If the tank is already closed, if the lid is already closed, what is she how is she trying to get out? How's she going to get out if the lid is closed? Lopez, the maintenance man who found her, actually said, and this is a quote, he said, "I noticed the hatch to the main water tank was open and looked inside and saw an Asian woman lying face up in the water approximately 12 inches from the top of the tank." His testimony suggested that it would have been difficult for Lamb to make it to the top of the water tank on her own, at least not without anyone noticing. For him to get to, and he stated this, for him to get to the tank, he had to take the elevator to the 15th floor of the hotel before walking up the staircase to the roof. Excuse me, sorry. Then he had to first turn off the rooftop alarm. There's an alarm on the rooftop. You can't even get up there without setting off the alarm. So he had to turn off the rooftop alarm and climb up on the platform where the hotel's 4 water tanks were located. Finally, he had to climb another ladder to get to the top of the main tank. Only after all that did he notice something unusual. If the alarm were triggered, the sound of the alarm would reach the front desk as well as the entire top 2 floors of the hotel. So there's no way for her to get to the roof without triggering those alarms. There's just not a way to do it. So my working theory that I've been talking about this entire time is that, of course, she was murdered. This was not a suicide. She was indeed murdered. And my reasoning behind this, or my theory behind this, is that she was murdered by a hotel employee. And I really haven't seen this theory circulating anywhere, which surprises me. But my thought is, starting way back whenever her roommates, quote unquote, complained of her odd behavior, like I said, the roommates were never sat down and questioned by the police. The police just took the hotel's word for this. Okay? So, who's to say that a hotel employee didn't go to management and say, "Hey, we've been getting these complaints about this young girl all on her own. We've been getting complaints of odd behavior from this woman. She needs to be in a room by herself." Okay, they're getting complaints. Let's move her to a room by herself. So now, any employee can know that this woman Again, 21-year-old small
Mic
woman
off.
traveling by herself is now in a room by herself. Next thing would be the fact that she was on the 14th floor. Why was she on the 14th floor? She stayed on the 4th floor. That's where her room was. Why was she on the 14th floor? Yes, she could very well have just wandered up there. Somehow she got on the 14th floor. We really don't know. Possibly a lot of people think that she could have been with a guy, a man. Who knows? But it could very well be that one of the employees had taken her up there. An employee is very capable of knowing which rooms are available, which rooms are not available. So he could have very well taken her up to this room that nobody is staying in on the 14th floor. And again, if you go back and you watch the elevator video, she's actually wearing a red sweatshirt and what looks like basketball shorts, which is strange outfit for Elisa, especially if you've looked at any images of her, she's never really wearing anything like this, which is not to say that she would never wear anything like this. I don't ever know that. We won't know that for sure. But she is wearing what looks like very baggy clothes and some sort of flip-flops, maybe just slip-on shoes. So this could explain what she's
Mic off.
running from or hiding from while she's in the elevator. Also, my next bit of evidence would be about the rooftop alarms. Lopez said, the maintenance man once again, said that the only people who know how to turn off the alarms are hotel staff, hotel employees. So let's say that this hotel employee gets Elisa. I don't know if he drugs her, what he does. He could very well have drugged her. But let's say that he gets her and I don't know. We don't really know what happened between the time she's on that elevator and in the water tank. We don't know what happens. But, she could be getting angry at him and she could be saying she doesn't want to do this anymore. She doesn't want to be with this person. And she knows who this person is. She could very well know who the employee is, and maybe she's on her way down to tell somebody about it. The employee gets mad, takes her up to the roof. Who knows what happens after that? I think that
Mic off.
they could have drugged her, even though the report did say that she didn't have any drugs in her system other than the drugs she was taking for her mental illness, which I'll get more into that whenever she comes back.
Mic
Oh yeah, I'm
feedback
actually back. I've
on.
just been
Mic
listening to your
on.
side.
Oh, no. Literally, I've been over here struggling for words by myself.
I was I was just
How
waiting
long
for
have
you
you
to
been
finish
here?
your for like 3 minutes. I've just been waiting,
Oh my god.
I was listening to your story. I was waiting for you to be like, okay.
Well, I
So,
didn't want to stop in case you weren't there.
oh
Anyways,
yeah.
I'll continue on. So my theory is basically he or she, we don't know who the employee is, drugged Elisa. And we really don't know if this person could have raped her. And soon she didn't like what was happening anymore and she left. Maybe that was why she was on the 14th floor because she wasn't in her room, obviously, if she was on the 14th floor.
Mhm.
And he could have drugged her. She stumbles out of his room or this abandoned, empty room. Stumbles out of this room, tries to get away, and he catches up to her. He knows how to get up on the roof. He knows how to turn off the silent alarms. He could have tried to rape her on the roof. We don't know. Could have tried to rape her somewhere else. Maybe that's why she didn't have her clothes on. And he could have thrown her into the water, thrown her clothes in after her. Didn't want to deal with her. Didn't think that anybody would find her in the water tank. And then the death was deemed an accidental drowning. An accidental drowning.
Which I agree with.
Dude, no.
Yep.
Yeah, no. No. Go
Just
ahead.
no.
Go ahead. Just
Okay.
no. Go ahead.
So I obviously got.
I know I just sounded like an absolute dumbass
You
talking
sound
on
like.
here by myself, literally trying to fill time, and I just repeated the same thing over and over again.
No, you did great. It was. I didn't think you repeated. I should have chimed in sooner, but I was waiting for you to finish your story.
Okay, go ahead.
I didn't want to be rude because I'm gonna revoke everything you just said.
I know you're gonna completely roast me, but I don't care what you say.
Because this is what the police said. This is like their facts and stuff that they
I don't
found.
trust the police. I don't trust the police.
That they did some things wrong, but I think that they were still correct about this.
Go
So
ahead.
I
Go
think
ahead.
I think what we should start with was um, Elisa's mental health
Right, and
during this
I don't
time.
know if you were here during the time, but I said we would get into that once you were here because I
Yeah,
knew that that's what you wanted to talk about.
yeah, I was listening. But so I mean, it was very sad because she was a young girl, and she was living with this. I think she had what stage like something stage one bipolar or whatever, which is like the
Yeah, like bipolar
worst.
type one.
Yeah, and
Let
then
me do some light research while you're speaking. Go
yeah,
ahead.
check verify my facts here,
It is actually bipolar disorder type one. I did see that.
which is like the worst. Um,
Hmm.
and then she was also taking antipsychotic drugs um along with that because she and her family did like mention this like her sister mentioned her seeing things that weren't there, hiding hiding under tables and stuff, trying to get away from something that just didn't exist. And anyway, so events leading up to that video that was discussed, she she started writing on her blog like she was having these really bad low episodes, or she didn't feel good, which came with bipolar. She couldn't really control any of it, but she was feeling down. And she wrote about her scaring herself, like her thoughts. And I'm sure we've all had some moments, or maybe not all of us, but like scary moments where you're thinking about doing something bad to yourself. And she wrote about that. And this was, leading up to the days before she went missing. And so many, what the police think after investigation was that whole elevator um, like scene was basically her having a bad episode and imagining something maybe chasing her, or something that wanted to kill her, or something that was telling her things, or so on and such, and that she was trying to get away from it. Well, um, a lot of people then think that maybe she was trying to push the elevator. She was frantic, when everybody has anxiety or they're panicked, they don't think well, and that she just pressed all those buttons, and maybe she hit the doors stay open button, which somebody timed it, and it stays open for around 2 minutes anyway. So they think that she might have hit that and it just wasn't working. And so her next option was to go up to the roof. Well, as my co-host said, you can't get up to the roof without alarm being activated, but that's actually not true. The window
No,
mentioned
I
the window
disagree.
mentioned
No.
earlier where the dogs found her scent or whatever led up to a fire escape with a ladder straight up that had no block on it so anybody could get up there without an alarm being set off. It was just a very dangerous ladder, but if you're scared, you're gonna do it. Sorry, did you want to add something before I continue?
Okay. Here's
Didn't even let me
here's the
finish my story.
situation.
Sigh.
Here's the situation. Here's the situation. Okay. And I wanna just make a little disclaimer for the rest of these podcasts, for everyone listening. I am always going to choose like the most unlikely possibility. I'm always playing devil's advocate, okay?
Which is good.
Some of my reasonings may be absolutely off the wall and make zero sense, but they make sense to me, so that's all that matters.
That's true. As long as you
Um,
believe it. And there is some stuff that's, still not explained. So,
like
why the
there's
press would cut
no
the video like a minute out, nobody can explain
exactly.
that.
There's I think that the police knew they did a terrible job investigating this. They gave absolutely zero answers for a long time. Um, they
Mic
didn't
on.
examine things as well as they should have. And later on, I think that they found out a little bit more about what was exactly going on. And they didn't want to admit that they were wrong. And they cut
Oh,
the
you think
video.
it was an scapegoat then?
Totally.
Oh,
Come on.
okay.
If you guys tell me that this is not true, that the police wouldn't do something like that. Oh, you're wrong. You're wrong, my friend. They would. They would indeed do something like that. But yeah, I'll finish what my research has discovered after you're done
Oh,
telling the story.
I can
Mic
finish my
on.
side now? Okay.
Oh, I guess. Yeah, you can go ahead.
Okay, so back to where I was saying, the whole ladder thing, anyone can get up there, blah, yada, yada. Also sorry for all of the mic noises that are happening. It'll probably come through in the stream. I'll fix it for the next one. It's just mine having issues. Anyway,
I can't hear anything.
yeah, it comes through as desktop, which because I'm the
Oh,
one streaming, it shows up. So I'll fix it next stream. Apologies. Um, but uh Oh boy. Oh, yeah, there we go. So we get onto the roof and she's looking for a place to hide because she's gotten herself up here now. And obviously like the water tanks look like the best place to hide. So in a frantic state, she opens it. And another thing that was later released, yes, my co-host was right. It like he did say that it was open, but they later released that that was a misspoken thing, and that even the man himself, like the janitor, came forward and said that it was closed. So that could also be another conspiracy that you can't really prove whether or not that was right or not, because we don't know as the general public.
like
Anywho,
how do you? Sorry, I'm gonna stop interrupting. Keep going.
so I choose to believe the later version where it was, um, or no, you said it was open. I think that I think he said that it was closed at first. I think he proved my point on accident. Anyway, because it would be closed if
He
a
proved my
murderer
point
got to
on
her.
accident.
Any
Okay.
anyway, so it was open. They later said that it was actually open when he found it. And, obviously when you jump in there, um, there was a possibility that she could climb out, and maybe she thought she could because the water would be high enough. But as the people use it, the level drops and you can no longer reach that opening point. Well, anyway, so, surrounded by a tank that, it wasn't insulated, so, but it could be very cold in there because the sun doesn't hit that water. Hypothermia could have set in, which is what the police officers thought. And, as hypothermia sets in, it sets off the release of, I think it's hormones in addition to something else that causes your body to feel really hot. And so you want to take off your clothes, which is very odd because you're actually freezing to death. And so that's why many thought that she took off her clothes, was because that burning sensation she was trying to get, colder, and that it eventually, either hypothermia got to her or she just drowned. But they didn't find the normal, like, lung damage you would find for somebody who just, inhaled water. So they think that it might be more hypothermia. But
But there would have been evidence of hypothermia. Like if you died of hypothermia, they would be able to say, okay, yeah, it's obvious that you
well,
froze to
she was
death.
also in water for 19 days, so like the body decomposition was like slowed, sped up, depending on like the temperature changing during the day and the night. So I mean,
Mm-hmm.
Mic on.
it made the autopsy. There's another freaking uh mic thing. Anyway, so it made like the autopsy hard enough as it is. But another thing to prove my point was that when they did the tox screening, they found lower amounts of her prescribed medicine. And what the police thought was that, up to the day she went missing, she started like getting off of her drugs for whatever reason. They have no idea why she would do that. But and then they had like an expert come forward and say, if you did that, that would make the episodes a lot worse, especially being on the medicine for a while. And I mean, we know she was unhappy taking all those pills, so maybe she weaned herself off, hoping that she got better while she was traveling, for whatever reason. But they think that that triggered an episode really bad, that she thought that she was being traced by something that her mind made up, and that she, you know, essentially accidentally drowned, because it's not like she intended to suicide. It was she got herself in a place she couldn't get out because she was scared. And so I think that's what actually happened. Um, I know my
Is it
co-host
my
doesn't,
turn?
yeah, my co-host has some things to say about that. So go ahead.
Okay. Okay. Here's here's where the holes in your story come.
Oh God.
So, like you said, the talk screen showed that she'd been missing some of her, she hadn't been taking her bipolar medication as normal,
Well, yeah, it
or
was a
as she should
lesser
have been.
amount.
Right, right, right. And it also showed that she had some other medications in her system, like I think it said like anxiety and depression meds in her
Hmm.
system.
Mic
Well,
on.
interestingly enough, she had been in the water for how many days?
19?
19 days. Most drugs are only in the body for a few days.
Oh, okay.
The most the most that a drug can be in your system is about 2 to 3 days, except for like I don't know, marijuana stays I think in your system for about 8 days.
Okay.
But regardless, these drugs would not have shown up in a tox screen of a waterlogged body that had been soaking in water,
Oh, that
dead,
that is
decomposing
interesting.
for 19 days. Also, they talked about how there was no way that she could have been raped. There were no signs of sexual assault. They did a rape kit on her. How did they do a rape kit? Because samples can only be collected within 7 days of the assault.
That's also true.
The math isn't adding up. Okay, these people are trying to make 2 plus 2 equal 5, and it's just not adding up.
Well, do you think that there's a possibility that, like, because she took drugs
Mic on.
like over a long period of time, that like
That what?
there we go. Can you hear me now?
Yes, I was
Mic
like, oh no,
on.
please tell me it's
Link
not me.
Oh, my
established.
mic is
Mic
having so
on.
much issues, and it's probably coming through with all these voices, which is awful, but I will fix it for next stream. Um,
No, you're fine.
this is trial and error. So, went back to my point that I was trying to make, was that like, if you take all these drugs like again and again and again, do you think that it built up and that it could have lasted, and maybe that's why they saw lingering effects Like maybe because it was like the body was still trying to get rid of like that usage taken over like months or years.
I don't know. It's hard to say. It's hard to say um, exactly
Because we
how
don't know
long she was
exactly
taking.
what pills she was taking or like how long
I'm
they were
sure,
meant to last.
yeah, I'm sure somewhere it says what she was taking, but I haven't been able to find it. Um, but who knows? I mean, based on my absolutely 2 minutes of research.
Oh, great researching skills.
Listen, hey, okay. The point is, most drugs only stay in your system for about 3 days,
Okay. Yeah,
and they
that's
had been 19
suspicious.
days in a body that has been soaking and decomposing in water. And they also said that because of her body's condition, the way that it was, because it had been in water for so long, that they couldn't test the blood. So I'm a little bit confused
Did it actually
about
say
their
that?
tox screen. Yes.
That's
Let me
crazy.
see here.
So how do you
Yeah,
do a tox screening?
exactly. And I wonder if they just tested the blood anyways and they're like, oh, you know,
Like what little amount that actually worked or something maybe?
mm-hmm.
It's possible. I mean, the tox screening took a while. I think on the first run through
Yeah.
they didn't see anything. So, and then they had to do like a more in-depth one. And that's when they discovered like the faint traces of the drugs that she was using.
Yeah. Okay. It says, sorry, I was looking for this quote. Sorry. It said the autopsy did not show any foul play from the evidence that was processed, but the coroner's office noted that they were unable to do a full examination because they could not examine the blood from Lamb's decomposing body.
Huh.
So made that make sense.
Yeah, that I can't remember what they did or why I think they did do two tox screenings, but maybe, maybe they did get some blood that worked or something. Because, I mean, working with a decomposing waterlogged body is, sorry, difficult enough. So maybe they just didn't, get a good enough sample the first time. That could have been a thing. Maybe they found, a better spot where the was still like retained.
Yeah.
I mean, that would
Who
be,
knows?
but I mean, working with a body is already hard enough, but like, especially one that was like already decomposing, 19 days waterlogged, like that's so difficult.
Right.
I mean,
So
Mic
do you want to
on.
get into now some of the other theories that people have?
oh, you want to get into some of the crazy ones first?
Oh, yeah, come
You
on.
want
We
to
gotta.
go you want to go with the bookstore one and then the government conspiracy to hide tuberculosis?
Oh, wait. Let's end with that one because I think that that
Mic
one's like
on.
the most far-fetched.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, yeah, you can go ahead and start if you want.
You want to do the bookstory one? I think I know that one a little bit more
Yeah.
than you. I don't know if you've seen it.
I know a little bit about it.
So,
But you probably know more than I do.
yeah, so essentially like another thing the police looked into that proved to like be a dead end, nothing happened, was these two guys met her in the lobby and gave her a box, which they later discovered was just a box full of books from the last bookstore, which is a place there.
A lot of people
Um,
thought it was drugs, I think
yeah,
is
yeah.
yeah. Yeah. A lot of
Because
people
of
Mic
where
thought
she
on.
someone
was.
was giving her drugs.
Yeah. But they later interviewed the two guys and they said that, she had gotten a lot of books and that she didn't think that she could carry them from the bookstore to her hotel, so they offered to drop them off later, which is what they were doing. So that was a dead end. But internet
Mic
sleuths,
on.
oh my gosh, my freaking mic is having issues. Anyway, one of the things that the internet sleuths found weird was that, if you went to their website, the last bookstore, and you went to their PO box, I think it was, and it has an address. Well, the ping, like the little red ping, dropped right in the middle. Oh my gosh.
Mic
Oh,
on.
there we go. Of where Elisa, I think it was the cemetery of where like Elisa was buried.
which is bizarre.
Which is the weirdest
It's
thing. And
bizarre.
because it's in Canada, but this bookstore is in, the United States.
Yeah, and it's weird that it's like it just makes no sense. And
Mm.
obviously from the way that I've been speaking this entire episode, you can tell that I don't believe in coincidences.
Yeah.
Um, so that whole thing is just absolutely strange.
It's very bizarre. Did you have another theory, or did you want me to do the far-fetched one?
Yeah. So another theory, and this one was actually, well, I won't say proven to be wrong, um, but this one is also pretty far-fetched, is that a lot of people thought that she was playing a game called the elevator game.
Oh my
And
God, I know that
basically,
one.
yeah, basically the rules of the game were that you would go into an elevator, you would press a certain combination of buttons in the elevator, and it would close, and then the next time it opened, you would be open to an alternate dimension.
That's like an
Um,
actual video game too. They made that into a video
yeah,
game. That's
and they
crazy. I
they
didn't
made
know
it
that.
into a video game. I think because of this case, I actually read something where actually I have a quote from the guy who started the game.
Oh, did you
Um,
really?
yeah, it says the guy who started it, the co-founder of ACK Studios, I believe I'm pronouncing that right, ACCK Studios. He said, talked about how the death of Elisa Lam had influenced its development, saying that there still hasn't been a great official story about her. I remember on local news they reported it from the gross out angle because people drank water that a corpse had been floating in. That's unfortunate, but what about the poor girl who died? It's easy to say that she was off her meds, but why can't people think a bit more about her as a person?
Mm-hmm.
Um, but yeah, so a lot of people thought that she, maybe took a drug. I mean, she was in LA, and um, oh, this was also in 2013. I don't know if we talked about that,
I
but
think
this was in
maybe you
20
mentioned it.
2013. Anyway,
Was weed
so she,
legal? I don't know when it
dude,
became legal or
I
not.
don't, I don't even know. I don't even know. But but a lot of people thought that maybe she had taken some sort of psychedelic drug. She was very into seizing the day, living life to the fullest. She wanted to try this cool drug that she had never tried before. So she wanted to take this drug, play this game, and she was, high on these drugs. And that's why she was like feeling around in the air outside the elevator, thinking that she was in the alternate dimension, blah, blah, blah.
That's a pretty
But
far-fetched theory too.
yeah, especially because a lot of people came out and said that this game wasn't even at its height until 2017. Um,
Yeah.
and if it was at its height in 2017, and I still haven't even heard of it until now, I highly doubt that a lot of people knew about it in 2013.
Yeah, I mean, it could have just been one of those things that you saw on social media because, I mean, I knew it before, I mean, not, back then, but like just from gaming. So, because it's a massive game on like, Roblox, the
Right,
elevator
right.
game, that's one of a
Hmm.
big thing. That's where I know it from anyway.
Yeah.
That is a
Um,
little far-fetched though.
yeah. Yeah.
Did you have
So you can go
another
ahead and.
one?
I do, but it'll kind of lead into the next thing. So you go ahead and say yours.
You want me to do or do
The
you,
government one.
oh, okay, you want me to do that one?
Yeah.
Okay, sick. So this one was super far-fetched. When I told her, she was like, well, I don't know what your
You would
reaction was.
never. I was like, that would never
I know.
happen.
So anyway, like the whole basis was that the tuberculosis test was called Lam Eliza or Lam Elisa, whatever one you, because it's spelled the same as her name. So whatever you want to say. um, was a test for tuberculosis, and right after her death, a outbreak happened in Skid Row, among the homeless that eventually required aid from the government to like help contain. Anyway, so they thought that she was a government agent who was sent there as like uh, a sort of bioweapon to spread that disease to eradicate the homeless population. And at the end of her mission, they the internet sleuths who believed this theory thought that the government believed she knew too much, and so they had her killed. Was essentially the whole theory, which was very far-fetched and so far from the truth that
Well,
uh,
my thing is like, how would she spread tuberculosis?
I mean, unless you had it like in a container or something, you could have it in an air
Right.
capsule.
Yeah. Well, I like the only way that I would maybe think that was if it was like the people who drank the water that her decomposing body was marinating in.
Oh yeah.
If they got
Well,
sick,
she
I'd be
didn't
like,
have it in that theory. They didn't think that she had tuberculosis.
yeah. I don't think.
Well, obviously I don't either. I'm
Right.
with the facts here.
Right. But again, like I said, we're always playing devil's advocate here.
That's true. I mean, it is suspicious. It's a weird coincidence, but I don't think it really leads anywhere.
Yeah, it's just a little bit too far gone for me.
Yeah, and why would our government hire a young out of college Canadian girl to do this mission?
Yeah, I don't. I mean, our government does sketchy things. Don't get me wrong,
Yeah, well, I know, but like,
but I just don't think that this is one.
no, it's too far-fetched. You said you had like a theory that leads into it?
Yeah, well, basically, just getting into the whole paranormal aspect of things. Um, a lot of people think, especially digging into the history of the Cecil Hotel, a lot of people think that maybe she was possessed by a demon or by a ghost, and this caused her to act these ways and to drown herself um, in the water tank, or maybe it was a ghost who put her in there. Which if you look into the history of the hotel, it may not be that far off. Um, so as you know, there are several incidents at the Cecil Hotel that are unexplained. Um, there are at least 16 sudden or unexplained deaths that have occurred in or around the hotel, which is a lot, I feel like. The hotel is notoriously known for a suicide spot. A lot of people will, jump from their windows
Mm-hmm.
while they're staying in the hotel. Excuse me. While they're staying in the hotel. And a lot of serial killers have actually stayed in this hotel. One of them being Richard Ramirez, aka the Night Stalker. Um, and it kind of goes back to whenever I said how the Cecil Hotel was so cheap um, at the very beginning of this episode. Richard Ramirez, was actually able to stay at the hotel for just $14 a night. Um, and it was said that he, was able to stay at this hotel. He would go out, he would murder people, dump his clothes in the dumpster behind the hotel, climb up the fire escape to his room in just his underwear. And people said that the hotel at the time was in such shambles and disarray that, Ramirez walking around in his underwear back to his room was really not that bizarre.
That's crazy. I didn't even think
I
about that. He would blend right in pretty much.
Yeah, and it was said that he was staying at the top on the top floor, so he would climb the fire escape from the dumpster up to the top floor, and then get back in his room, go to sleep, wake up the next day, and go work something else.
Yeah, that's so bizarre because I mean it is a hotel. No one would ever know if you ever walked by a serial killer or a murderer, and you would just never know because of how many people stayed there.
Mhm. Mhm.
Um,
And yeah, sorry,
go,
go ahead.
no, you go ahead. I was gonna lead into something else.
Oh, I was just gonna say real quick that the American Horror Story Hotel season actually had a character in it named Richard Ramirez,
Oh
who
my
in
God.
the show was a murderer working with the cops. And yeah, so that's again just another reference to the Cecil Hotel itself and all of the strange things that happen there.
It's so
So, I mean,
infamous.
yeah. So really, it just goes back to a lot of people think that the spirits of people who were murdered, the spirits of people who committed suicide still live in that hotel. And it's actually considered the most haunted building in LA.
Yeah, I
Um,
believe that.
yeah, me too.
I
I
mean, I
have no
believe in
doubt that.
ghosts, so,
Oh, me too. Me too.
it's not far-fetched.
I
It
have,
could have been.
yeah, I really don't think it's that far fetched. I mean, I have no doubt that that place is haunted. Do I think that Elisa was being possessed? I don't know.
Maybe. I think it's more likely that she was possessed than she was murdered. I,
Dude,
I
don't
just,
mess with me right now.
I just think with the facts that it was more, it would be more believable if she was like possessed because all of the facts that line up with my story are her by herself doing all these things. So I think it would make sense. But I was going to lead in that we've got a little over like I think 20 minutes, and so I wanted to kind of go into a couple of just little stories, like short stories if you have any. I have a few that I wanted to tell you. I did some
No, you
research
go
on them.
for it.
I have two like little stories
Are
that I
you
could,
saying we have 20 minutes left?
yeah, just a little over
Okay. Okay.
for this episode. So, I mean, if you want
Mic
to
on.
add anything real quick before I start.
Oh, I don't have anything. Oh, well, I guess essentially we don't know what happened to Elisa Lamb, and I don't think that we will ever know what exactly happened in those 19 days. If you guys have any theories, please feel free to let us know what you think. If you think that we're crazy, again, let us know.
You
And
always
if,
DM us on Instagram, Sinister Summer
yeah,
Camp.
yeah, follow us on Instagram, all the things. You know what? You just go ahead. We'll say everything at the end.
Yeah, so I don't have my notes with me, but there was a lady, right? And
Hmm.
names probably don't matter anyway, because just for family's sake, I don't know if she has any family left. It was a while ago. Um, anyway, she was staying in a room at the husband, right?
Mic on.
And
Hmm.
to get
Mic on.
horrible stomach pains in the middle of the night. So um she went to the bathroom, right? And here's the crazy part. Ended up giving birth to a son. She had no idea she was pregnant. And
Hmm.
okay, here's the other weird thing, right? She assumed that the baby was dead. And so what does she do? Like any natural parent would do, she takes the baby and she chucks it out the bedroom window.
Dude, no.
That
What?
was a story that happened and she was convicted, but they got her on a insane plea and so she was like, just sent to a mental hospital or something. But yeah, she chucked her. I guess they don't know if it was alive or not. She said it was dead, but she chucked the baby out the window while her husband was
Maybe
sleeping in the
maybe
room.
she didn't maybe she didn't assume it was dead. Maybe that was just a
It
oh,
could have been a
so he
cover
was
up.
dead. I mean, maybe it was another man's baby. Maybe her husband didn't want kids. Maybe she didn't want kids.
Well, she didn't even know
You
she was
know?
pregnant, so maybe.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
just, yep, so that was a crazy story that I found. Um, and another
Interesting.
one was, I believe he was a veteran, and it was one of the suicide cases, which I remember reading about it, and I thought it was super odd because of how long it took them to find his body. He jumped from atop the um, atop the roof
Mic
onto
on.
a neighboring building, onto a skylight, right? And it took
Wait, wait,
him,
wait. He jumped from the roof of the hotel onto another roof of another
yeah,
building?
onto a neighboring
Dude,
building skylight.
Jesus.
And yeah, and so um I think it took them a while, maybe like a week or something. I would have to research the story again because I remember reading it. But it took them so long, and I can't remember if they either found his body by looking off the roof of the Cecil down or if somebody found him by looking up through the skylight.
No,
Yeah.
literally, if I would have looked up in my dorm or in my dorm, oh my god, my,
College
my,
problems.
oh my god, for real. If I would have looked up skylight and seen a man, it would have been. I
No,
would.
I would
Oh
have
my
been
god,
so scared.
I would have been scarred for life. I would have never slept again.
But why did they take it so long, like take so long to find his body? Like that was my question.
So he just went up there and died. Like, how did he die?
He jumped off the building onto another roof.
Oh, I thought you meant like.
No, it was a suicide. He like splatted on the skylight.
Sorry, I was not following that the way that I should have been.
No, his
I thought that he
body.
was just like freaking like rooftop jumping and was like, let me
No,
go over here.
no, it was a smaller building. He jumped from the roof of the Cecil onto the skylight of another building, but it took him so long to find his body. Because normally, when you jump, you fall to the ground and people like
And someone
automatically
sees
see you.
you.
Yeah, but
Oh,
they couldn't find him.
th- that's bizarre.
Yeah.
Um,
So,
I I have a little story from from another podcast that was actually covering this case.
perfect.
Um, about a suicide where someone, I don't remember names. I don't remember if it was a woman or a man, but jumped from their room at the hotel and actually jumped and landed on another man.
Oh my God,
And
I
they were
know
both
that one.
like, imagine that happening. Like, you're just going on about your day, strolling through the streets of LA.
Did you hear that? It was actually a woman.
Or
Um,
was it? Okay.
yeah, because she was I think there were reports of yelling coming from her room because her husband or boyfriend or whatever was like violent with her. And
Mm,
she did it because she was like going to finally, prove to him what all this had been doing to her and
mm.
like make him see the error of his ways. So she jumped, but in doing so, she killed like this innocent man who was just
Oh,
walking. I mean,
God. Talking about a bad day.
talk about wrong place, wrong time. I mean,
Yeah.
literally, if he was like inches ahead or inches behind, like, he probably would have survived.
Oh, Lord. It's just, that kind of stuff is freaky. I mean, that's one of those instances where I say it was meant to be. Like, everything happens for a reason, you know?
Like, that man was meant to die. Who
I know
knows?
that, I know that that sounds like absolutely so horrible,
That's so bad.
but yeah.
That's that's crazy.
Well,
I completely forgot about that story
yeah.
until you mentioned
Yeah.
it.
Yeah.
Yeah, so do we have before we start, closing and off and plugging everything, um, do we have a topic maybe that we want to talk about for next time? Whenever that may be. Any ideas?
Um,
Teasers maybe.
I do. I do have something that I really want to talk about next time.
Oh, great.
Um,
Anything you can say without, giving away the whole story?
should I say their names?
No. Let's leave that out. Yeah. Just go
Okay.
completely, like, give as little information as possible, just a tease.
Okay, okay. So, I would say this this story is going to be the perfect example of a corrupt police system
Mm.
and how people are not always what you think they are. Yep.
Oh,
That's
great.
what I have to say.
I'm excited to hear
That's what
that.
I have to say.
It sounds
Yeah.
like I have research cut out for me to try and prove you
Oh,
wrong.
you do. Oh, you're not gonna prove me wrong, dude. You're not
Oh
going
no,
to.
am I gonna agree with you? crazy.
You better agree with me because there's only one answer.
There's only one right answer here, and I've got it.
Yeah, we'll
My
just say that
God.
it's still it. There was never a conclusion. People had like the police never came to a conclusion. So I guess you can have your own opinion
Oh, great. I'm excited. I'm
because
gonna have to do my
yeah,
research on this story then.
yeah,
I don't know if
definitely.
I don't know, is it one that I've probably heard before or?
No, I
Oh,
don't think
okay.
so because I hadn't even heard it before.
When did you find out about it?
Literally about 3 days ago, maybe.
Oh, sick. Okay, so we're both gonna be researching then, essentially.
Yes, definitely, definitely.
Oh, sick. Okay. Do you want to start closing up and I will switch our screen?
Yeah.
I'm gonna wrap it up.
Um.
I'm gonna turn the
Yeah.
mic off so you're gonna hear that while my ghost is talking.
Mic feedback off.
All
Mic
right,
off.
guys. This is the end of episode one. The Elisa Lamb case. We really hope that you guys enjoyed this. Thank you so much for listening to us. We are going to try and post a podcast roughly every week, I want to say. That could change. It's bound to change probably. But yeah, we seriously really appreciate you guys listening. We are really trying to get to 50 followers in a year. So if you could help us out with that, that'd be amazing. Please follow us on Instagram, subscribe to us on YouTube, Sinister Summer Camp on all platforms. Um, yeah, so as always, you guys, please keep your minds open and your doors locked. Thank you all for coming to camp.
Bye
Mic
bye, guys.
feedback on. Mic on.
Bye.